Okay, welcome everybody to Unit 1 for the National Invitational. My name is Christine Hull and I will be your facilitator today. Today we have Evergreen Middle School from Washington State with us. In a moment, I will have the judges introduce themselves, followed by the students, and then we will begin the hearing. My microphone will be muted during the hearing and I will be holding up 1 minute and time signs. I recommend that you stay on gallery view, and all of our students have been spotlighted so that they will be on the top of your screen. At the conclusion of the hearing, judges will give brief feedback to teams and then we will conclude. Judges, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you, Christine. My name is Tim Moore. I'm from the University of Wisconsin at the Center for the Study of the American Constitution. And my colleagues are?
Hello, my name is Alan Broadman. I'm a recently retired high school teacher from East Brunswick, New Jersey. My teams competed at the national competition, and I had wonderful students who were able to achieve some national championships. So looking forward to hearing from you guys.
And my name is Glyptis Angreider-Jones. I work at the University of Louisville's McConnell Center and look forward to hearing your presentation. And if you all may introduce yourselves, please.
Hi, my name is Pia.
Hi, my name is Aniket.
Hi, my name is Anu.
Hi, my name is Anusha, and our teacher is Nicole Kessler. We're here representing Evergreen Middle School from Washington State.
Great. Well, let's get started with question number 1. What is a constitution and a constitutional government? What is Republican government? How can constitutional governments be organized to prevent the abuse of power and protect natural rights? How can higher or fundamental law be distinguished from statutory or ordinary law that governments regularly create and enforce? You may begin.
The Constitution provides the base foundational principles and framework of a government. It also outlines the higher laws of a nation, which may not be infringed upon. Because these laws may be immoral or inequitable, a constitution does not always guarantee a constitutional government. A constitutional government is one that limits those in power, strives to protect minority rights, upholds rule of law, and better allows for change and adaptation. If a government's constitution does not imply or state rule of law or government regulations, it cannot be considered a constitutional government. There are a few ways constitutional governments are organized that prevent abuse of power. Separation of powers limits the concentration of authority in one group or individual, restricting a rising tyrant's accessibility to absolute dominion. Measures such as checks and balances also prevent abuse of power by ensuring that if any one branch gains too much control, the others can quickly impede it. Further, integrating natural rights into constitutions creates a government that protects its citizens and prevents abuse of power. Natural rights are the unalterable rights that all individuals hold. Locke asserted that the 3 natural rights are the rights to life, liberty, and property.
One example of these rights being protected by the government is Chisholm v. Georgia. In it, Alexander Chisholm tried to sue the state of Georgia in federal court over due payment for goods supplied in the Revolutionary War. Georgia claimed that as a sovereign state, it could not be sued without consenting. The U.S. Supreme Court denied this and stated that the Constitution allowed for federal courts to hear cases between citizens and states, protecting Chisholm's natural right to a trial by jury, which falls under his right to liberty. After the Revolution, the founders based their new government structure on what had worked well in the past. They wanted a government in which all voices could be heard, while still ensuring that nothing akin to King George's tyranny could evolve from their system. These factors drove them to choose a democratic form of government. The founders thought that a direct democracy, described by Aristotle as the corrupt form of the rule of many, could also lead to a tyranny. Rather than through officials, citizens of direct democracies themselves vote on legislation, leading to a majority rule. In choosing a republican government, the founders felt they were selecting the fairest government form they could.
The polity form of government that Aristotle described as the right form of the rule of many is similar in structure to what we consider to be a republican government today. A republican government is a form of constitutional government in which each territory within a nation has representatives that are elected by the people for the people. It ideally encourages and supports adaptation and creates space for all citizens' voices to be heard, while educated representatives are still making the ultimate decisions. As Madison wrote in Federalist Paper 10, passing public views through representatives with great wisdom and patriotism may benefit the public more than if they were coming from the people themselves. Different forms of laws can also improve a nation. However, it is imperative that higher laws be different from statutory or ordinary laws in order to have a stronger constitutional government. Government adaptation to match societal and cultural progression is also crucial. This may be in the form of amendments to pre-existing laws, the passing of new legislation, or change in government officials.
Statutory laws shall allow for this adaptation by being amendable by Congress and reviewable per request of the people. These types of laws shall help shape smaller parts of a government, but shouldn't carry foundational elements. Higher laws, on the other hand, should identify the base principles of a country and help define a government structure. They are, or should be, unamendable. All people and nation must abide by higher law. But higher and statutory laws are necessary in a constitutional government. Constitutional governments restrict those who
Constitutional governments restrict those in charge and give the people a louder voice within their society. Constitutions clearly lay out the higher laws and base principles of a given government. These two concepts work in tandem to benefit the people and allow for growth of communities and the nation as a whole. We have finished our speech and are now ready for follow-up questions.
Okay. So you talked a bit about this without using a phrase, so I'm going to use the phrase, the idea of limited government. You talked about it in the sense of rule of law and limits that are placed on government, and that is part of our system. So what I'd like you to do is to evaluate how good of a job have we done historically from framing to today at achieving that concept of limited government. And if you'd like, you may go ahead and give a grade to our work like your teacher would give to you on your papers. So please, I'm sorry, Pavitra, go ahead.
Sorry about that. I believe that we've done a fairly good job of maintaining limited government in the sense of the people also having a say in the government and how they're being ruled. As we talked about in our speech, the founders didn't want tyranny or abuse of power. And as we also talked about, we have many articles in our Constitution that limit power so that minority rights are heard and the Constitution isn't turning into something bigger or something that it shouldn't turn into. And we stated separation of powers specifically and how the branches are separated so that we also have representatives that are part of the government so that everyone gets a say. So a grade that I'd probably give our government might be a B- or an A. Yeah, if anyone wants to add on to that.
So yeah, our Constitution is also based off of Locke's philosophy, and Locke believed that people have the right to overthrow the government if if they're like infringing their rights, their natural rights. So an example of this is like the Second Amendment, or like the right to bear arms. So yeah, there are some parts of the government that are a little bit, have too much power. And one example may be like the right to like national emergency. And like another aspect of the government may be like the electoral college and how that's like structured. But yeah, other than that, I give the government today like a B+. Yeah.
I would like to agree with my peers and state that I would also like to give the government a B+. I think that no government would be perfect in limitations, and I agree with my peer in that the Electoral College is a prime example of how the U.S. government may have failed slightly in limiting government. But for the most part, I think the people have a very loud voice in today's society, and so that's why I would rate them a B+.
Okay, thank you.
I'd like to ask a question about unwritten constitutions. Do you think they could function effectively as higher law?
I think fully unwritten constitutions could not, just because with each new official, there's bound to be someone with different viewpoints. And if they could alter the Constitution, if there's no like written evidence of what the Constitution is, they could partially alter it to benefit themselves and further their own agendas. And so I don't think that they could ever be like fully effective, but like, for example, a partial constitution, such as the Roman Constitution, actually was helpful as it allowed for adaptation. And so I think that it's just a very case-by-case basis.
Yeah, I'd like to agree with my peer saying that an unwritten constitution could allow for more abuse of power. And although governments would have an idea of what is abuse of power and like what not to do, and they'd have that in their mind, a written constitution makes sure authorities and those in power don't get to abuse their power, like specifically. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. So with unwritten constitutions, rule of law isn't really like, I guess, enforced as much, because with a written constitution, there's like a baseline and like a baseline principle. But with like unwritten constitutions, rule of law can sometimes be infringed and be corrupted.
Yeah. Oh,
Thank you. I'm going to ask, pivot us a little bit. Some people say that the United States is both a republic and a democracy. Do you agree with that statement? Again, people say that the United States is a republic and a democracy. Do you agree, and why or why not?
I agree, because I think that it's a democracy in the sense that all, or ideally all citizens have a voice. And I think that this government structure strives to do that, even if it doesn't always successfully do it. But it's also a republic in that there are representatives creating the laws instead of just the citizens themselves.
Anyway, so you say that you said that they all have a voice. If how do they have a voice if it's if we have representatives? How are all people's voices represented in that system?
So a democracy and a Republican government both do a fairly good job of bringing and adding to minority viewpoints being shared. Of course, some may make the argument that in a Republican government, some things like gerrymandering can occur where only one class is favored to. And of course, this is possible, but I do agree with my peer where our government is a democracy and Republican government, because with the system of having representatives, a big portion of our population is accounted for and many viewpoints are shared, which is why common good is so big in our country.
I would also like to add on that local governments help to bring out minority viewpoints, because normally minorities tend to cluster in one region. And so when we have like county governments, for example, they can help represent those minority viewpoints where they wouldn't be represented in a state, maybe because the majority might be considered to be Caucasian. So just local governments help to raise the minority viewpoints, and having that like tier system of representatives does help.
Thank you.
Okay. So you talked about the importance of rights, particularly natural rights, yet our framers chose not to put a Bill of Rights into the document. They make a mistake.
I don't believe they made a mistake in doing that, because many in the Constitution, many of the articles that are listed do add to the rights to life, liberty, and property through giving separation of powers, which makes sure one government doesn't, one branch doesn't overpower the rest. It allows all of the branches and people in the society to take a part in the government per se, and all the things that the founders did put in the Constitution and the articles, they do in a sense provide natural rights for all the people.
Thank you very much. Okay.
Well, we'll offer some feedback, and I I have not heard Chisholm v. Georgia yet, so thank you, and how you use that as a way to protect liberty. I also thought your summary of Fed 10 in your opening statement was quite good. I think when it comes to in the follow-ups, I would have liked to have heard a little more use of evidence. Excuse me. This group is really good at like these summary statements, and you lead out with these summary statements. But I think you need to add a little more piece of information. And here's another piece of information. And here's another piece of information. Like, for example, when you got to gerrymandering, see, that was a very good use of information that supported a general statement that, yeah, we've got a few glitches here in our representational system. So I think that would definitely strengthen the argument. But I like, and I'm not, I might disagree with you a little bit on your Second Amendment interpretation that gives people the right to revolt. That's worth a conversation. So thank you for these last 15 minutes, and I've enjoyed our time together. Good luck.
I enjoyed the piece again. The Chisholm piece is the first time we've heard that. You gave me the sense that you understood the ideas that we're talking about, which particularly with Unit 1, that can be sometimes difficult. So that was really good. I would agree with Tim. I wanted to hear more. Okay. He used the gerrymandering example. I'll use the local government example. I'm fairly sure that you have specific examples you were thinking about at that point. Well, just talk to us about it. Okay. Have that conversation with us. Okay. Take that final step, if you will, in presenting these pieces, and understand, and I think you do, that if one of you puts out the idea, well, maybe the next person just comes in with the example and picks up and runs with it. And I think these are wonderful things that are part of this skill set that you learn through this. So I agree with a lot of what Tim said. I think the concepts are clearly there. Take that next step and nail it with the examples.
Exactly. A couple of times I wanted to hear you made a statement. For example, the representative democracy represents all of the people. So tell me how it represents all of the people. And we started to have that conversation again, just that linking part, connecting your ideas, which you clearly have the ideas, and just linking back so that you're continually reiterating to the judges that you really know this stuff, that you all really spent a lot of time studying and preparing. I especially enjoyed how you structured your opening statement. Really liked how you laid out at the very beginning very clearly, here are the 4 points. I appreciated that. It was right off the bat. I would just encourage you to take full advantage of that full 4 minutes. That's your time to just throw everything that you know at us. And so just take full advantage. Good luck as you continue to wrestle with these ideas. These are, as Tim said, Alan said, really big, difficult concepts. And we can really see that you're wrestling in learning the material. So we really appreciate the time and effort you've put into it. So thank you and well done.
Thank you, judges.